Hello Year 7, my name's Mr Holtham and I'll be covering the textiles element of your remote learning whilst you're at home. In today's lesson we're going to be learning how to create a paper weave, okay? Now to start the lesson you need to grab a few materials from your packs, and that's going to be 2 pieces of paper that are opposite in colour and a pair of scissors. If you have some tape at home, please use that, but it isn't essential. Okay, so we're going to start off by creating some strips. Now the strips are used to weave under and over the loom, and we'll talk about that a little bit later on, but for now we need to start off with creating the strips. I'm going to choose the orange piece of paper, pop the blue onto the side for a second. I'm going to show you how to create some strips. Now we're not going to need a ruler or a pencil for this. I'm going to show you how to fold the paper to create some nice lines. So begin by picking up the edge of the paper, placing it, folding it in half and placing those edges nice and neatly together. Okay, when you've got your edges lined up, place your thumb in the center and drag your finger either side to create that crease there. And we want to try and keep that crease nice and sharp. Okay, nice sharp creases means we've got nice lines to work from as guides. Now I've turned the paper round so that I've got those 2 pieces of paper facing me. I'm going to fold this over, not in half, just to create about a 2 or 3 centimetre strip. Now again, we need to make sure the edges of this are lined up nice and neatly so we don't have any wonky strips. Okay, so it's nice and folded. I'm going to roll it over again, about the same distance, so we've got the same size strips all the way across, roughly. Okay, create another crease there, and then fold it over again. So now we've folded the paper to create some creases. Now what we need to do to make those creases nice and sharp is grab a pair of scissors, and on the back end, the handle, just run the handle across those creases on both sides, and that's going to create some really nice sharp creases. Unroll the paper, and you'll see now we have some lines. 1, 2, 3, 4 creases I've made there. All right, so yours should be very similar to this. Now we're going to get our scissors. I'm just going to crease this out a bit so it's not so curved when I'm cutting it. I'm going to get the scissors now and cut along this line so we have some strips. And because the paper's folded in half, we should end up with 2 strips that are the same size. So I'm just going to grab the scissors and slowly take my time and cut along that creased line that I've made there. Okay, it's really important we take our time with this so we don't end up with loads of wonky lines. Okay, because that's going to affect the end result, and we want to try and keep our weaves as nice as possible. So I've done that one, let's move on to the next strip. Again, just keep cutting all the way up the line. Take your time with this, be careful you don't cut your finger from behind. Okay, just keep going all the way across the page until we've completed this section and we've cut out all of the strips. Okay, so we're nearly there. We've got 2 more to do. So we're going to do the last one in just a second. Just going to cut this one out. And because the paper's folded in half, when I've cut this strip out, there'll be 1 more crease for us to cut along. And I'll show you that in just a second when I finish this one. There we go, so if we unfold this, okay, you can see that our final crease there can now be cut. And we should be able then to have 10 strips. 2, 4, 6, 8, and 10. Okay, so that's 10 strips now we've created for our weave, all right? So if I grab the next piece of paper back in, I'm going to show you now how to create a loom, all right? So we're going to fold the paper in half, grabbing one edge, placing it on top of the other edge, making sure that the corners match up nice and neatly. Hold it down, use your thumb to create a crease in the middle, and then wipe your finger to the side to create a nice sharp crease across there. Okay, can we see how nice and sharp that is? Now what we're going to do is create a guide for ourselves. Now this is really, really important. So I'm going to grab the edge of the paper that has not been folded, so I can grab those 2, grab them both, and then fold it over just like that, okay? I'm not trying to create another strip out of this. All I'm doing is creating a guide so that when we come to cut our loom in just a second, we have a guide not to cut past. So if I unfold that crease now, you can see here, I've got a line, and that line is gonna keep us, keep our loom together. It's not gonna fall apart when we finish this. We're gonna grab our scissors again, and now we're just gonna measure roughly about 2 or 3 centimeters again, cutting from the folded edge, so that the 2 ends at the top there, the folded edge we're gonna start cutting along, and we're gonna stop as soon as we get to this crease line we've made just here, look. So just here, we're gonna stop. We're not gonna cut past that line, we're gonna stop just before it, okay? Again, I'm not gonna measure this out with a ruler, I'm just gonna use my judgment to create roughly even strips, okay? Again, I'm not cutting past that guideline, I'm just going to it. I'm not gonna go past the guideline, I'm just going to it. Okay, this is really, really important, and I'll show you just why it's so important in just a second. So just keep going along this whole piece of paper until you have completed all of the strips that are roughly equal size. Okay, so now if I unfold the paper, you'll see I have all these lines that I've made. This is why it's really important we don't cut past this guideline, because we need to have those pieces of paper intact. Otherwise, this will just fall apart, okay? So we've got this completed. Now, what we're going to do is bring our strips back in, and we're going to start weaving, okay? And all we need to do is go under, over, and follow that same pattern. I'm gonna show you what I mean now. So we're gonna start by lifting up the first loom string, going over the second one, underneath the third one, over the fourth one, under the fifth one, over the sixth one. There we go, and so on, and we get this pattern. Okay, so we have a blue, orange, blue, orange, blue, orange, blue, orange. On this strip, we're going to create the opposite pattern. So now this area here is going to be orange, and that's going to be blue. So I'm going to, instead of picking up this string, I'm going to pick up this one instead. And we're going to just keep repeating this pattern of under, over, all the way across our loom. Okay? When you've put the second strip in, make sure you pull these down so they're nice and tight together. Okay, it'll just create a nice, strong, finished look when it's done. Now, because we're going to put the next strip in, we need to make sure, again, it's the opposite way around. So this time, we're going to start with this string and not this one. So we're going to lift this one up, place the paper through. So we're going under, over, again. But can you see how each side is opposite? Each loom string we've weaved through is opposite. And that's going to continue all the way up the page. Okay, and when you finish that, you should have something that looks a little bit like this. Okay, so we have the same checkerboard pattern created. Now, the reason I asked you to gather some tape, if you can, is because we need to fix this down when it's completed. So just get 2 strips of tape to cover the back. Okay, that is how we're going to complete our first lesson on paper weaving. Thank you very much, yourself, and I look forward to seeing your work.